Greetings everybody, greetings companies, exporters, trade and business experts. Welcome to all of you to today's webinar on online business development websites and tools for a COVID-19 age. We appreciate that you all took the time to log on and join us today as we look at some of the big challenges that we all have and that are facing the business environment that's unfolding all around us. So just now, while the last registrants are logging on, let's just start by introducing ourselves. So my name is Susanna Hardy, and I am Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. My background is actually in finance, but I've been increasingly drawn to the wonders of great online content and the impact it can have. So at IBT Online, I get involved in content for websites, webinars, SEO, keywords, social media, anything that's content related. And I'm very grateful to my colleague, Samantha Sofici, who kindly agreed to join me today and help out. Samantha is an experienced and valued business development manager who, with endless good cheer, helps companies navigate the online world and identify the right online business development tools that they need to grow their businesses. And we are really, really delighted to have Aaron Scott Miller with us today. Aaron is, he's the manager for international trade at the Virginia SBDC. He's responsible for the international trade initiatives for the Virginia small business, for all the small business development centers at George Mason University. And he's actually the only sole international trade manager in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And as such, he dons a lot of hats and has a very broad knowledge of what challenges companies face, notably going international. Among his briefs at the VSBDC, he looks at economic development, SME exporting, public policy, business development. So it's a real treat to have Aaron with us today. Quick word also on who we are as a company. IBT Online, IBT stands for International Business and Technologies Online, and we're a private company with our headquarters in the US, and we are 100% focused on building, hosting, managing, helping with online tools, and helping our clients to help them grow internationally. And basically these online tools fall into two categories: websites and online marketing. And I guess our greatest unique selling point is that we work, think, and act globally, and have done since our creation in 2002. So with that, let's get straight into the meat of this webinar. We've packed it with a lot of information. We've decided to split it up into 5 big sections. And our aim is really to provide you with a very information-packed, very pragmatic, hands-on resource. And we include some time at the end for the Q&A, for live Q&A. So please do drop your questions into the chat box. We'll be collating them, curating them, and responding to them at the end. So we're going to start the presentation with a little summary from Aaron about what the SBDC is doing today to help companies, and then we're going to explore why and how we believe websites can help companies grow their business and stay in touch, especially in today's world, with clients, prospects, suppliers, distributors in this environment. We'll be going through some case studies and practical examples as well, and highlighting some of the help and support and programs that businesses can reach out to and that are currently available for them. So as I said, please, put your questions in the chat box, participate. We're going to have a great webinar, and with that, I'm going to hand straight over to Aaron and talking about the SBDC. Aaron?
All right, thank you so much, Susanna and Samantha. We really appreciate the partnership with IBT Online and are looking forward to this, our first of 3 webinar series that the SBDC is doing along with our partners at the state trade offices of SIDO. And we're really excited to be here with you at this moment in history and see what we can do to create some more opportunities for the businesses that we serve collectively. So for those of you who aren't already working with a small business development center, SBDCs are located in every state across the country and most communities as well. We're a place where you can go as a small business or entrepreneur and speak confidentially with a business counselor on any topic imaginable. We're a partnership between the Small Business Administration and various universities and colleges around the country. All of our services are free, or if it's a training program, we charge a very nominal amount for those. I've sent a link here where you can find your local center and sign up for counseling if you'd like to speak with a business counselor. And I'm sure that Susanna and Samantha will be circulating these slides after the presentation. I also wanted to direct you to our association's webpage for COVID-19 resources. So these have been compiled by our association. You'll find a lot of helpful resources right now as you face these unprecedented challenges as a small business. So I'd like to direct you there to that for further information. And again, finding a local center is easy to do, and you can sign up and folks there can help you as well. In terms of the international interest section, which is really the group who has convened this series of webinars, we consist of about 300 counselors across the country who are dedicated to helping companies that are internationalizing, and that can be both exporters and importers. And while the skill level and experience can vary from state to state, we really offer counseling in a core of trade finance, supply chain management, and marketing. And all of our counseling for clients come at no cost to you. In addition, because we're located in many of the leading universities around the country, it's oftentimes that you can receive free research conducted by graduate students or really talented undergraduate students. We also have access to a lot of databases that perhaps as a small business, you don't have that breadth of access to. So in addition to research, we also provide networking and connections to the business community for specialized experts like IBT Online. Right now, we're co-chaired by Jim Foley, who is based out of Illinois at Bradley University, and myself, Aaron Miller. I am at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. And as I mentioned, we work closely with federal and state trade partners. So this is one of 3 webinars that we'll be doing over the next 2 weeks regarding getting your business online and digital trade strategies. But we'll be working to provide other relevant content in the future with our partnership with Sido and Andy Corellis, and you'll be hearing from him later. Finally, before I turn this over to Susanna and Samantha, I just wanted to plug one of our other major partners in this, and that's the Small Business Administration. You should keep in mind that there are a number of programs that the SBA offers that could finance your website globalization and your e-marketing efforts. So you should consider the SBA's Export Express loan, or talk with your state trade representative about the State Trade Expansion Program, the STEP program, and whether or not that can be used for these same efforts. And then in addition, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, SBA 7A loans issued before September 27th, 2020 are eligible for debt relief, where SBA covers 6 months of payments. So if you have an SBA 7A loan or are looking to acquire one, you should keep that in mind as a potential selling point and helping you here at this critical moment. To get in touch with folks who can help you navigate that, the SBDCs are a great resource to help you navigate these programs, as well as any other program and touch point with your federal and state partners as well. So with that, Susanna, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Aaron, thank you so much. Really a huge resource for American small, medium-sized companies that you should all be really taking advantage of at the moment. So we're going to dive into, in particular, sort of why do exporters need localized websites? Why is that? So let's first talk about that. For us, sad to say, COVID-19 is a global pandemic, but it's obviously not a health issue only. It's also economic and societal. For business, it really is all pervasive. It affects all aspects of your business, but it also affects all aspects of everybody else's business worldwide. So all decisions at the moment have to be taken with COVID-19 in mind. The route out of this for business will depend on each company's circumstances, but we think that online and online tools are clearly an essential key that now has to be adopted and somehow integrated into every aspect of everyday business life. The majority of us are probably sitting at home right now. And that's, just an example, just a very clear, vivid example of how COVID-19 has made the online tools more important for us. So we all need to find new ways to embed these innovative tools and solutions to make sure that our businesses are safeguarded, get back to some kind of level footing, and even the growth. Now we sit at this at a pretty amazing sort of juncture. We get to talk to a lot of companies, and in the USA, and in Mexico, and in Japan, and China, everywhere across the world. And it's interesting. We've really identified 4 main criteria, priorities that all the companies are talking about at the moment, and I've listed them here. Clearly looking after employees, came first. Everyone's got to go home, get home working, and so on. But cash flow and managing costs is an everyday concern for most companies. But maintaining supply chains and maintaining the partnerships one has at the moment, the market share and the partnerships, the existing distributorships one might have, those are also key things that companies are prioritizing. The 4th one, generating sales, exports, business. This is what we're going to be talking about in today's webinar. This is, in a sense, our expertise, if you like, in terms of online tools for that. So that's really sort of where we're going. And just talking with companies, I think one of the things we found with regards to generating sales is that there has been a real impact from COVID-19, both about the definition of a buyer persona and the buyer's journey. So, we're all sitting at home now in our home offices or spare bedrooms or kitchen tables, wherever we are. But our buyer persona is probably there too. And this may well have affected how he interacts with your company in terms of his buyer's journey. And it may even have changed who the buyer persona is. We'll be talking a lot about this in our next webinar, which is all about online marketing and going quite deep down into how to identify buyer personas internationally, how to identify a buyer's journey internationally. But I wanted to leave you with a couple of these questions. How do your buyer personas find you today? How do they interact with you? How do they engage with you? How has that journey changed over time? And one of the things is, what online tools are your buyer personas using? Are you on the same platforms as them, for example? So these are a couple of the 5 major things that we can identify. I also wanted to to highlight this slide as well. So many of you that are on this, I looked at the attendee list before, and we're delighted to have so many of you attending this. Many of you that have registered and are attending this webinar are manufacturers. And when it comes to online tools, you tend to be fantastic at engineering online tools, CAD CAM, something like that, but not always at the cutting edge of business development online tools. And I want to leave you with these couple of stats that you can read at length about B2B and where people search for the B2B. I guess a lot of manufacturing companies suffer a little bit from what I would call the perfectly engineered syndrome. This is when you basically think deep down that your product is so wonderful, and of course it is, but it's so well engineered, it's going to sell itself. I would suggest that the current situation has put an increased damper on that, even more so. And I wanted to add, B2B e-commerce is actually about 3 times the size of B2C e-commerce. So it's really important that all of you companies who are manufacturers, whether you're B2B, B2C, even B2G, B2 government, that you all get the right online tools for your business development as well as for your manufacturing. One of the sort of more disconcerting features that we're all seeing right now is this cancellation of trade shows. And I believe the number is something like 1,600 huge international trade shows have already been canceled, and we're not even into the full swing, just sort of like May and June. We're going to be diving in a bit more on this when we talk about online marketing for this. But I did want to highlight a few things now with regards canceled trade shows and what you can do now. And basically they group into 3 big categories. The first is to reaching out to your existing partnerships and existing prospects and making sure that you keep a strong link with them. I mean, host webinars, online workshops. There's a lot of virtual conferences going on. Some of them a bit flaky, but some of them are good. Make sure your online presence is talking to them and is relevant. Make sure that you're really on track with that. And then for your sales team, they need to really look at the strategies that they're going into and to really lean into and covet those existing relationships. Again, as I said, we're going to dive down deeper on that in the next webinar we have. Just looking at your websites, whether this is international websites or domestic websites, have a look at them. This is the main area where people are going to be looking for you now. They can't come to your office. They will look for you online now more than ever. Make sure your website is reflecting your reality. If you are open for business, you need to, say it right out there. And if you're not, tell them. And tell them also how can your buyer persona, how can your buyers do business with you now? How can you help your distributors and in-market partners? Is it time to add some new CTAs, some new calls to action? Like, get in touch with us. Here's my personal email. Here's my phone number, whatever it is. Review any kind of keywords also that you have. And in what has changed since COVID-19. A lot of keyword research has altered in the last 2 months. And finally, is it time for e-commerce? Has e-commerce now become a must-have? And again, as Aaron said earlier, we will be having another webinar only dedicated to e-commerce, and we'll drill down more on that. I don't want to be over negative. I think one of the key areas that we have to think about is how to be prepared for the rebound. I don't know about the timing. Obviously, there are parts of Asia emerging. We are hearing more and more stories about China, but also about Singapore, Taiwan, South Korea, all really emerging quite well. I don't know the shape of the rebound, but I'm not a crystal ball gazer or an economist. There will be second waves. There will be some seesawing, but we will also rebound from this. And how does the company prepare for that rebound? The key is don't disappear from the radar. Don't sacrifice any revenue generating business just to maintain cash flow and just to maintain costs. I want to share this slide here with you. It comes from a client of ours. He's in the aviation sector, and the aviation sector is one of the hardest hit and one of the first to be hit. And this is a client he's gone through a couple of things before. For example, the SARS epidemic and things like that. So he knew right away that he needed to find some lead indicators, some drivers, if you like. And he said, one of the drivers that I've been following very closely is passenger numbers, particularly in China, and where that's gone. So you'll see on this graph how steep that curve, that line is, sorry, not curve, that line is in month 1 after the start of the crisis, when China shut down. And they went from an index of 100 to sort of 10 within a month of passenger numbers, much steeper than what they'd had previously, either at the SARS epidemic or, in fact, also during the 9/11. The upturn so far has been also much steeper, and for passenger numbers. So I'm sure that this will dip and not be a straight line, but it's worth finding what indicator is best for your business. Where are you monitoring what's happening? And for this company here, they are looked around and said, I need to make sure that I'm well placed for this rebound in Asia, in China. And then if I look a bit deeper, besides passenger numbers, where I see recovery is in cargo, aircraft, aviation cargo, and in private jets. So I need to make sure that I'm well prepared and well positioned for those 2 areas too. Because you're all SMEs, small, mid-cap, medium-sized enterprises, you have the luxury of being nimble. Be nimble now. Make sure that you are really focused on saying, where is there a rebound? Where is there growth? Expand and make sure that you have looked at side verticals, expand your existing vertical, expand your geographic. Greater geographic and vertical diversity leads to greater stability and lower risk. Hot off the press as well, and for any of you looking at, not aviation, but let's say consumer products. Hermes, French luxury goods company, maker of those beautiful scarves. Well, they opened their Guangzhou flagship store 1 week ago. It looks very clear that the first week they've cashed in $2.8 or $2.7 million. Not yet fully confirmed by the company, but looks like that's what it is in 1 week. Again, there will be dips, but that is an indication, perhaps, for some companies of where that rebound is. Again, making sure that you want to be well prepared, diversify geographically, and spread your vertical. Diversifying vertically, again, this is interesting because guess what? Everybody's online these days. These figures date from January 2020, from December 2019, really. At that time, 60% of the world was online, 4.5 billion of us online for over 6 hours a day. I don't have the numbers in April 2020. All indications are that is up significantly, both in terms of the number of people online, and what I'm hearing on social media is that it's over 5 billion now. So, 400 million people got online for the first time ever in the last 2 months. And that the amount of time spent online has gone from 6 hours and 43 minutes to nearly 9 hours. So again, as a small mid-cap company, this is good news for you. All of your prospects, clients, suppliers, distributors, they're all online. You know where to find them. And one of the ways to find them is to communicate with them, talk to them. And again, just like the previous slide, everybody, 50% of the world is on social media. And everybody that you need to talk to is on social media. So make use of it. We talk about sort of online business development tools. They're basically 2, really: websites and online marketing. Everything else is sort of a subset of those, really, if you look at it that way. And these are interrelated. They're interrelated. One drives the other very much. But it's no longer good enough just to have a website, which is a great website and optimized. You now need to have something that actually drives it forward on a regular basis. And that's where the online marketing comes. E-commerce, for example, is a subset of your website and your online marketing. And we will be drilling down, as I said before, both on the online marketing and on e-commerce in the next webinars. But what I wanted to highlight for both of these types of tools, websites, online marketing, what I want to highlight is that they are customer centric. They are searcher centric. They put the person searching, your prospect, your client, your employee, whoever it is, at the center. So the search engine that they go to says, well, what's relevant for you? And if you're targeting the German market, let's say, or the Chinese market, and your website is not in German, is not optimized for the German market or the Chinese market, doesn't have content that is relevant to that market, is not hosted locally and optimally, is not digitally compliant, all those things, you will not be relevant, or you will not be deemed relevant to that searcher. And therefore, you're basically invisible to that searcher. There are a lot of different search engines in the world today. Google is by far the largest with 75% market share, but there's a lot of different ones. And if you're looking at China, you need a different search engine than Google. Beijing is the leader. Naver is the leader in South Korea. But there are other search engines as well. I mean, YouTube and social media channels are now used like search engines. And all of them have that characteristic that they are searcher or customer centric. You need to put yourself in the shoes of your prospective client. Again, it's looking at the buyer journey from that point of view. So, it would be nice to say, look, why can't I just use my nice home domestic.com US website to go global? Why can't I just add some Spanish pages and get Mexico? Add a couple of Chinese pages and get into China? It just doesn't work that way. Your search engine is just not seeing you as relevant. As I said, Google.de is Google in Germany. And it says, Google in Germany will not find your website relevant unless it is German-centric. It has German content. It is hosted near Germany. It is GDPR compliant, all of those things. And that's where we talk about localization. Don't think of Google or any other search engine as a single homogeneous beast. It is lots of different search engines. Google has 192 different country regional search engines. For Belgium, for example, it has 3 different search engines just for Belgium: French, Flemish, and German, just for Belgium. A lot of that also has to do with language and how you work with language. Here's an example of localizing keywords for your website. Now, I've taken the example of car in Spanish. If you're targeting the Spanish market, not the Mexican market, but the Spanish market, and you're using the word auto, which is the word you would use if you were Mexican, 9% of people in Spain who look for car write auto. 91% write coche. So if you're using the wrong word, you will not be found by 91%, even if you've got the right website. So again, it is all about the granular detail of the website and making sure that you're really relevant to that market. Not only that it's in Spanish, but that it's relevant to Spain in that example. Here's an example of a banal search: red shoes. On the left, you have google.com, which is my colleague Samantha. It's based in Florida. She did google.com, red shoes, and she gets Macy's, Zappos, Nordstrom, and so on. I'm sitting in the UK at the moment, so I go onto google.co.uk, and I get Debenhams and Zalando and Marks and Spencer's. Very different finds for a very banal search. Again, it's searcher-centric. So I want to leave you with this long list here. The key message is that websites and social media and any international online marketing is customer-centric. That means it's localized. I've listed on the right 10 criteria that we use to define localization. Note that adapted language, local language, is one of the 10 criteria. Hosted optimally, regulatory requirements, these are all just as important for the experience. So in answer to my original question from this point, why do exporters need localized websites? They need localized websites because the world is online. So if you want to reach out to the world, especially when you're sitting at your kitchen table because you can't even get to the office, you need to have effective online business development tools, like really strong websites that react globally. You need also today to prepare for the rebound, and the rebound will involve online business development tools, to get found and be understood, do business with your buyer persona in whatever buyer's journey they're doing at the moment. So with that, I've sort of a rather long intro, and as Aaron said, we are giving you access to this recording. You'll all get a recording of that. Before I hand over and we talk about how exporters use localized websites, I want to launch a quick poll. Make sure you're all still there. Make sure you're all sort of, hello. We're not in the same office, unfortunately. So what are your top destination target markets in 2020, 2021? What are your top markets? And please, you can click more than one if you have, you click two or whatever choices you want there, whichever ones you want, like that. Let me give you some quick feedback. You're very international, but I can say there is a pretty strong preference as well for Asia and Europe, which I'm intrigued by. That's very interesting as well. Thank you for that first poll. There will be two more at least, so hold on. But I'm going to close the poll now, and now we're going to look at how exporters use localized websites. How do they use localized websites? Samantha, perhaps you could dive in here already.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Susanna. So our first case, the first slide is something that we took from our website. And this is just to show that depending on what your goals are as an exporter, you will have different goals depending on the countries that you're going into, what your business strategy is. And so depending on what those goals are, we can kind of tip and tailor the websites accordingly. So if you are a B2B business, maybe we can help you with distributor recruitment, or we can help you grow those international sales. We can help you grow that brand awareness, that credibility, that trust. We can help you take control back from your distributors over your marketing. So this is a conversation that we always have with each individual company, and we like to determine what their specific goals are, and that way we can really focus the websites accordingly. So our first case study is a company called Bulman Products in Michigan, and they were pretty interesting because they have a ton of products, of verticals, and they have a lot of distributors all over the world. And they use localized websites to reorganize their business, their kind of business strategy. Because before, customers and other businesses would go to a distributor and they would order Bulman products, but they never actually knew the Bulman name. And Bulman didn't really know who their customers were, and they didn't like that, obviously. So instead, what they did is they created this localized online presence in all those markets that you see there. So UK, Germany, China, Singapore, Korea, Australia. And through that localized online presence, customers and businesses were able to find them through the local website, and then they were able to find a local distributor and buy from the distributor from there. So it just kind of switched everything around, so then Bulman actually knew their customers and their customers actually knew Bulman. We have a video case study from Anne. If you guys want to check it out, it's on our website. But this is she was just saying that their international sales grew up more than 22% per year, and it really helped their international business. So then, looking at the second case study, which is ASG, which is in my backyard in Florida. So ASG their strategy was a little bit different. Their products are very technical in nature, and they are also a B2B business. So they were selling through salespeople and sales reps. And they started with us with websites in China and Mexico. And specifically, it made a huge difference because their salespeople in China were phenomenal salespeople, but they were having trouble getting across the technical aspects of their products. So once they got the localized website, the Chinese reps were able to pull up the website, and any questions that the airlines had, they were able to kind of pull up the website and show them, and it served as their #1 sales and marketing tool. And using the Florida Online Global program, they were able to expand their online presence into Japan, Brazil, the UAE, Russia, and most recently France. And we're really proud of this because Hugo and ASG, their return on investment was pretty quick and large. Because of that Chinese site alone, that first site, they got a $500,000 airline deal with Hainan Airlines, and their exports grew from 2.5 to 5 million. So we're really proud of ASG, and we love doing work with them. Then the last one is AMSOIL. So AMSOIL is a Wisconsin company, and they sell synthetic oil. And I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go get just oil in general, I don't really know any companies, and that's AMSOIL's problem, and that's the problem that we aim to solve. So what they were aiming for is brand recognition all over the world, because they are a huge international company. We've created websites for them in Australia, France, India, Latin America, the UK, and they're planning on expanding even further. So through localized online marketing campaigns and also through localized websites, they wanted to be kind of like a household name for synthetic oil. And we're really trying to get that brand recognition and that trust and that credibility in the markets. And you can see a few of those examples here. So in the next slide, Part 4, Online Global Programs and Help for SMEs. So I'm going to continue into this section, and I'm just going to review the programs that those companies used to get this online localized presence. The first option is option A, to market expansion with a limited scope. So 12 web pages and 2,000 words each. And by the end of option A, you'll have 2 websites completely localized for your top 2 target markets. So for this example, one in German for Germany, as you see in the top, and one in French for France. These websites will be based off of your US site, but we will go through a whole localization process, including proper domain names, local hosting, SEO keyword research, industry-specific translators, regulatory compliance, and just so much more in the background. So by having these websites, they will help you be found, be understood, and be easier to do business with in your top markets, like you saw in the slides before. So in terms of budget, option A costs $12,000, but as mentioned earlier, there are grants available depending on the state that you're located in. So for example, in Florida, there's an $8,000 grant available towards the program. And in other states that use STEP, which Aaron mentioned earlier, there is a $6,000 grant available. And if you don't know what your state offers, or if it offers anything, please get in touch with us or your SBDC or your economic development agency, and they will definitely be able to help you.
Samantha, may I interject just quickly? And I'd like to launch a quick poll just to ask if this is of any help to anybody. Would you like us to contact you regarding option A, 2 website market expansion, the 2 websites? If that's something that interests you now, or if you'd like to wait a while, or not at the moment. And it's very interesting. I've got some people within a month, but I have an awful lot of people saying, please get in touch with me now, which we're delighted to see. We're absolutely delighted to see that, and would welcome that. We will be absolutely. Samantha, I'm going to close that poll and hand back to you in that case. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So the second option is option B for website localization. Option B is anything above and beyond the scope of work of option A. So maybe your company is looking for a website redesign, or maybe you want to add international e-commerce, or maybe you only want one country but a huge scope, so 50 pages and 30,000 words, for example. Then option B would best suit you. The budget for option B is completely dependent on the scope of work, but just like for option A, there are grants available to use towards these services for qualified companies, depending on what state you're in.
Samantha, same thing. I would just like to launch another poll with regards option B, just to interrupt you again. Sorry about that. Would you like us to contact you regarding option B? So option B is much more, I didn't fit the two website thing. I've got a clear view in my mind, something else. Would you like us to contact you on that now or within the next few weeks? Please let us know. And we have a pretty similar reply rate, actually. There's some of you who'd like us to only in a few weeks' time, but a vast amount. I'm very happy to see that. Contact us right now, which is terrific. Thank you very much. And we will be in touch. Right, that's closed for that. And Samantha, maybe we could just quickly talk about helpful resources that are there for some of the companies to look at. We've talked about some of them, but just want to run through, Samantha.
Yeah, absolutely. So IBT Online, we have a few helpful resources in infographics, blogs, and webinars like the one that you're on right now. I'll talk about two that are upcoming with the SBDC and CITO that I think will definitely be helpful. But specifically, if you don't know who your economic development agency is, any of their contact information, there's a really helpful tool on the CITO website, and you see that the link where you can click on your state, and there's all of the information that you need to get in touch with your local trade manager, who will be a phenomenal resource at this time if you have any questions. Of course, the SBA, America's SBDC, go onto their websites, XM Bank. There's just so many resources out there to help exporters at this time, and we really encourage you to take advantage of them because I mean, they're there for you. So please go onto their websites and contact your local representatives. So our next webinar, if you're interested, is going to be all about international online marketing. It'll be next Thursday at the same time, so 3 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to go over the international online marketing piece. So we just reviewed the first half of the circle, which is your online presence. And then the second half of the circle is the international online marketing. Lots to learn, some best practices, some practical examples. So I really hope you guys can join us. And then the last webinar that we'll have in the series is international e-commerce for your business. So a little bit more specific, we're going to take a deeper dive into the various ways that you can use e-commerce to sell your products, your services online, not just in the US, but internationally. And that's going to be April 30th at 3 o'clock. And then the last slide, just a little message from IBT Online, the SBDC, CITO. Look after yourselves, look after your loved ones, and look after your communities. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay sane. We're here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out.
Samantha, thank you so much for that. We have a lot of questions coming from you all. We will try and answer as many as we can now. If we don't, we can email you responses and things like that. First of all, for all of you who've asked, yes, you're getting yes, you will get a recording of this webinar in your inbox Monday morning at the latest. And the other point is, yes, we will send you an invite to the other webinars. So that does with those questions. I have one, Samantha, just for you, if you would. There's someone asking that they have problems. They've had problems getting domain names for their international websites. They've had problems in the past. Is that something that we can help them with? Samantha, any clues on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you decide to do an online global program with us, we always like the companies to be the owners of their own URLs. We don't like to own any URLs, but if you have any trouble purchasing them, we will definitely help. Absolutely, and we have strategies to kind of navigate that.
Perfect. Right. There's a question also about our European websites and are they GDPR compliant? GDPR, General Data and Protection Regulation. This is something that we've been involved in since 2016, so we were pretty early on that curve. It came in force in May 2018, and all of our websites are GDPR compliant. We're actually big fans of GDPR, but you know, our even a microsite that we would build for you would have a cookie policy and privacy policy opt-ins, and have SSL certificates, which makes it encrypted and secure. So you'd be HTTPS, you would have cookie and privacy policy opt-ins. So they would be fully digitally compliant. That's probably the highest standard, well, it is the highest standard of digital compliance in the world right now. So that would get you through anything else like the California CCPA. Japan's introducing one. Colombia's introducing a similar thing. So there's a lot of countries introducing similar lookalikes to GDPR. And yes, all websites are fully digitally compliant. There's a company, there's another question about hosting locally hosting. There's actually a couple of questions about local hosting. It's not essential to always host in the exact country, but you have to be hosted very close to it. And the reason is two things. First of all, you want upload and download speeds to be fast, and you can't do that if you're hosted for a long way away. If you're just hosted in the USA, you know, your upload and download speed is going to be slow, and then everyone just turned off your website. And the second point is you can't even be recognized as a locally viable website if you're not, for many, many markets. If you're not hosted in and around Australia, you cannot actually have a .au, and you won't be recognized by the Google search engines in Australia, for example. And the same goes for many, many, many markets. It is not dangerous or risky to host outside the USA. Hosting is done by huge companies like Amazon, for example, or Nexus, and they have server farms everywhere. They're huge American companies. It's no more risky in Nebraska than it is in, you know, Japan. It's absolutely normal and fine to be hosted locally. Samantha, perhaps you could get the next question, which is about how do you decide which market to start from? If you want to take that one on.
Yeah, sure. So there are different ways that you can decide. The first one is the obvious ones being where can you get the ROI the quickest and the best ROI. So just taking a look at where you're currently exporting and just trying to just increase there, make you even more relevant, make you make yourself more visible in those markets. Another strategy is to check where if you're exporting into multiple markets, maybe there's a market that's kind of falling behind. So we've had a few companies do that as well, where they want to see kind of like almost like a last ditch effort to save that business in that country, and we create a website for them localized for that market so they can be found there as well, and that helps. And then if not, I know some states do have, and SBDC specifically do create export marketing plans, and that's a great resource. If your state and SBDC offers it, that's a great place to start if you're new to export and you're not sure where to get these localized websites in.
Terrific. There's another question now about, the fact that your distributor in international, I'm combining two questions. I think a lot of companies have their distributor owning their websites in international markets. And this is something that we really don't recommend. What role does a distributor play in international markets? He plays a very vital role. I'm not putting down a distributor at all, but they're not, I just worry when a company gives its online real estate, hands it over to an outside corporation. That's essentially what you're doing when you're allowing your international presence to be run by your in-market partner and your distributor, and that can be worrisome over the long term. For one thing, you really have to ask whose brand is actually developing longer term. Is it yours or the distributor's? And is that distributor always reflecting your brand values? Is he always reflecting the content that you want? So those are things to think about, but owning your own brand is for us something that's very important. It's important that you own and take control of your online real estate, and those are your URLs internationally. Promised that we'd keep you under an hour. We do have a few other questions, but they're quite market specific, so I think we're going to wrap it up here, and hope to see you all on the next webinars we have on online marketing and e-commerce. For those who have asked very market specific or site specific questions or technical questions, we'll email you afterwards as well, and give you the information. I wanted to thank my colleague Samantha for a great job. Thank you very, very much indeed. And also a major thank you to Aaron at the SBDC in Virginia, and for helping us to put this together, and being great support. And companies, stay safe, stay well, stay exporting, stay busy. And if we can be of any help, we will. And we look forward. So happy exporting, everybody, and see you on the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.